Mr. Terupt, November. Chapter Jessica. Things weren't going well. I had betrayed Alexia by being nice to Danielle, thinking that this was what Beltia would have done, and then Danielle suddenly turned on me without warning. I knew Alexia was behind it, and I was alone except for the friends I had in my book, like Belle and Anna. In November, Mr. Terupt introduced us to a book that the whole class would be reading, The Summer of the Swans by Betsy Byers. I had never read this one, or anything by Miss Byers for that matter. This book won a Newbery Medal back in 1971, Mr. Terupt said. He held the book up. It's not full of action like you guys tend to think of action, but it is a beautifully written book that's going to give us an awful lot to think about and learn from, and maybe even change because of it. I straightened up. I was excited. Peter moaned. As for Alexia, well, she was somewhere in girly la la land. The boys made faces and the girls exchanged glances, and then Mr. Terupt went a step further. We're not going to read this book, he said. We're going to do an activity with it. An ongoing activity, more like an experience. Now even Alexia was listening back from her little outer space world. What kind of activity? Peter demanded. Not some sort of stupid book project, I hope. I hate those. Nope, no project. I don't really like those type of things either, said Mr. Terupt. What do you think? I wonder what he has on his mind. I wondered. You're going to make us dress up as a character, aren't you? Alexia said. Ooh, I love doing that. Get real, Peter said. Will you guys just be quiet and let Terupt finish? Jeffrey said. That worked. No interruptions, and Mr. Terupt was able to continue. I want you guys to think about this book. In the story, there's a boy with Down syndrome. That's a mental disorder. And his name is Charlie. And his older sister, not much older than you guys, named Sarah. They had a pretty special relationship. That's what I want you to think about. Mr. Terupt stopped for a second, yet somehow we stayed quiet. He continued, so what you're going to do is visit our collaborative classroom downstairs for the next few weeks. You'll be in groups in the mornings and in the afternoons and simply spend time with these children doing what it is that they do. Mr. Terupt, I raised my hand. What exactly is a collaborative classroom? Still being relatively new to the school, I did not know. It's where the retards go, Peter said. Alexia laughed. I hope you'll answer the question a little differently after this experience, Peter, Mr. Terupt said. His tone was very serious. Peter didn't say another word. It's a classroom for children with a range of special needs, Jessica, Mr. Terupt continued. Some of you are probably a little nervous or even scared. That's why you'll go to this group. I hope you'll feel a little different afterward, too. My group consisted of Anna and Jeffrey. I still hadn't quite figured Jeffrey out. On the other hand, I had been eating lunch with Anna ever since I'd been ostracized by Alexia and her little clan. Danielle was back in. I was out, but I didn't want to be back in. I much preferred my time with Anna. She's quiet, but she's a lot smarter than everyone thinks. She's the only girl smart enough to stay out of Alexia's nonsense. Her mom's advice, she told me. We hadn't even talked about her mom or any of the stuff I learned from Danielle, and I hadn't told her anything about me either. For now, we've kept our secrets, and that's okay. I like Anna. She'd make a great friend to a character in a book or even in my dad's plays. I know she's going to be a great friend of mine. We were very quiet on our first trip downstairs. Not one of us uttered a single sound. My hands longed to hold the book, but I couldn't bring one, so I bit my fingernails instead. It's funny how when you get anxious to get somewhere, the journey always takes forever, and when you're not too anxious, the journey takes no time. My journey from California lasted as long as the ride on the Viper roller coaster, and our journey to the collaborative classroom took no time at all. When we arrived, it was clear the teacher was expecting us. Hi, guys, she said. Welcome to our collaborative classroom. I'm Miss Kelsey. We introduced ourselves, and then she led us inside. This is Joey. Miss Kelsey pointed to a little boy with boogers all over his face. Can you say hi to our friend Joey? Miss Kelsey asked. Joey waved in our direction, a giant smile across his face. This is James over here, Miss Kelsey said, pointing to a different boy. James looked pretty normal to me. He didn't say hi to us, though. He didn't even look at us. Over here is Emily. The little girl Miss Kelsey pointed to was a super cute little girl. She had drool all over her face and her arms and her hands, and she moaned a lot. A different teacher used sign language as she tried to communicate with Emily. A teacher struggled to maintain eye contact with her. She told Emily to say hi. That's Mrs. Warner, who's helping Emily. Emily tried to say hi to us, but I could tell she was not particularly good at talking. There was a few other children in the room, and Miss Kelsey eventually introduced all of them to us. I became distracted at this point because Jeffrey had walked over to Joey and started playing the game memory with him. I couldn't believe it. I heard him say, "That's a great job, Joey. You're really smart." And Joey smiled. And Anna and I were on our way out with Miss Kelsey and James and Emily to help them do their jobs. Before we left the room, I saw Joey giving Jeffrey a big hug. Jobs turned out to be er, Jobs turned out to be sorting the plastic forks, spoons, straws, and napkins for the cafeteria. Miss Kelsey poured the utensils on the table, and James said, 712. I looked at Anna a little puzzled. What do you mean, James? I asked. 712, he said again, looking down at the table. Does he always say 712? I asked. I figured he was yelling out some random numbers. No, James is telling us that there are 712 utensils on the table, Miss Kelsey said. 712 utensils on the table, James repeated, this time looking at Anna and me, swaying a little as he stood. Good job, James. Miss Kelsey sounded so excited. You looked at our friend when you said that. Miss Kelsey, do you mean James is right? Anna said. Are there really 712? Is it the same amount every day or something? Well, I haven't actually counted them to double check, but no, it's not always 712. But James has never been wrong before, Miss Kelsey said. Anna and I exchanged astonished looks. I was confused. James had done some amazing counting, but Miss Kelsey seemed more excited that he had looked at me. I wanted to ask questions, but decided to wait. I don't know if asking was appropriate. We finished up our jobs and walked back to Jeffrey. Jeffrey was still playing with Joey, as well as a couple of the other kids. He was helping them paint. Jeffrey, I said, and he looked up. We have to go back now. Oh, okay. His shoulders were slumped. He turned to the other kids. I've got to go now, guys. I'll see you soon. And then it was hug time. We thanked Miss Kelsey and headed back upstairs. We didn't talk all the way through the halls. I think we had too many thoughts on our brains. By the time we reached our classroom, Jeffrey was grumpy old Jeffrey again, and our own Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I thought. Chapter Jeffrey. Peter called them retards. Alexia laughed like it was funny or something. I should have just punched them both then. It's a good thing that they were not in my group. I went downstairs with Jessica and Anna, and they seemed a little scared, but I didn't say anything. We walked into Miss Kelsey's classroom, and I met the kids. They were great. Joey was full of love. All he wanted to do was play and hug me. He didn't get upset about anything, not even winning or losing when we played games. James was reading this book when we first walked in. I could tell he was really smart. I figured he was autistic right away, 'cause he didn't look at us or say a single word. And little Emily was so cute. She needed lots of help, but who wouldn't want to help her? They reminded me of Michael. Just like the collaborative kids, Michael had the power to make you feel really good whenever you were with him. Love poured out of him. I've never told anyone about Michael and wasn't gonna, but Jessica knew something was up. She's pretty smart. She notices things. After we visited the collaborative classrooms a few times, she came up to me one day at recess. I was sitting at the edge of the field, out where no one else ever comes. I was looking through my football cards, putting them into piles by position. You have a secret, don't you, Jeffrey? She said to me as she sat down. What are you talking about? I said. What do you know about kids with special needs? I kept sorting my cards. I tried to ignore her, but I wasn't going to tell her anything, and then she moved closer. I've got a secret no one knows, too. No one. Not even anyone at the school, she said. So why would you tell me? I asked, looking at her this time. I was reading this book, Ida B., and in it, the girl finally talks a little about her secret, and it helps her out. You're always reading, I said. The characters help me understand and think about things, she said. They help me know what to do. QBs, so quarterbacks. Where was that pile? Is that why you handle Alexia different than any of the other girls? I said. I guess so. Well, you can tell me your secret. I'm listening. Can I look at some of those cards while I talk? She reached for my pile of running backs. No, and I pushed her hand away. Nobody ever touches my cards. She was quiet. I think I kind of scared her. Sorry, I said. I'll just hold my book then, and she was quiet for a minute. I waited and she took a deep breath. My dad didn't come to Connecticut with us, she said. He directs plays and found a girlfriend at his work, a beautiful actress from one of his productions. My mom decided we needed to get away from California and my father, so here we are. I kept sorting my cards because I was listening, and Jessica knew I was. After a few seconds, she kept talking. She had more to get off her chest. I didn't want to come, but my mom told me I had no choice. Boy, was I ever angry at her. Angry like I've never been. I figured my father was going to dump her, not or my I figured my father was dumping her, not me. So why did I have to leave too? It's kind of silly, right? I could never live without my mom. I stayed busy with my cards because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to ruin it for Jessica. She had a lot to tell, so I stayed quiet. What I didn't know at the time was that my dad wasn't only dumping my mom, he was dumping me too. The last time I talked to him was back at the beginning of the school year. He phoned to talk to me, but he hasn't called since. I knew what it was like to have a parent that didn't talk to you. I had too, but I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Then recess ended.